Hello students, the topic is isoquant and its properties. What is an isoquant and what are different properties of isoquants? Firstly, what is isoquant? Isoquant is a firm's counterpart of the consumer interference curve. An isoquant is a curve that shows all the combination of input that yield the same level of output. Iso means equal and quants mean quantity. Therefore, an isoquant represents a constant quantity of output. The isoquant curve is also known as equal product curve or production interference curve or isoproduct curve. The concept of isoquants can be explained with the help of a table. Now look at this table. In this table we have taken four different combination of labor and capital. Now in the first combination, that is combination A, where unit of labor is 5 and unit of capital is 9 and the output is 100. Similarly combination B, the unit of labor is 10, unit of capital is 6, but the total output is 100. Again 100 meters of cloth. Similarly in C and D, both again the unit of labor and capital are here unit of labor is increasing 15 to 20 and the unit of capital is decreasing from 4 to 3, but the output of cloth is 100 in meter in all the combinations. Now this table can be explained with the help of a diagram. In this diagram we have seen the four different combination A, B, C, D, where we will use both labor and capital to factor of production, and we can an isoquant, an IQ curve which shows the combination of two factor of production, that is labor and capital, which give equal satisfaction to the producer. Now, what is isoquant map? An isoquant map is a set of isoquants that shows the maximum attainable output from any given combination inputs. Now, this is an isoquant map where one side we have taken labor, second we have taken capital. Now, here we have given different isoquants curve, isoquant 1, 2, 3, and here we get the total output is 100 meter, 200 meter and 300 meter with different combination of labor and capital. Now simply what is the difference between isoquant and isoquant interference curve? An isoquant is an analogous to an interference curve in more than one way. The property of isoquants are similar to the property of interference curve. However, some of the differences may also be noted. Firstly, in the interference curve technique, utility cannot be measured. In the case of isoquant, the product can be precisely measured in physical units. Secondly, in the case of interference curve, we can talk only about higher or lower level of utility. In the case of isoquant, we can say why how much IQ2 actually exceed IQ1. Now let's discuss the different property of isoquants. Now the first property of isoquant is an isoquant line lying above and to the right of another isoquant represent a high level of output. This is because of the fact that on the higher isoquant we have another more unit of one factor of production or more unit of both the factors. This has been explained in example figure in figure 3, where point A and B lies on the isoquant IQ1 and IQ2 representatively. This is IQ1, IQ here IQ1 and IQ2, where when IQ2 shows the higher level of satisfaction to the producer. Now the second one is two isoquants cannot cut each other. Just that as two interference curve cannot cut each other, two isoquants also cannot cut each other. If they intersect each other, there would be a contradiction and will get constant result. This can be explained with the help of in figure. Again in this figure both two curves are intersecting, but which is not possible because IQ when at the above of A shows higher satisfaction and IQ2 above A shows below, but below A IQ1 show lower satisfaction and IQ2 higher, which is not possible in the real world. Now, the third isoquants, an isoquant are convex to the region. An isoquant must always convex to the region. This is because of the operation of the principle of diminishing marginal rate of technical substitution. Marginal rate of technical substitution is the rate at which the marginal unit of an input can be substituted for another input, making the level of output remain the same as here shown in the diagram. And the third one is, and the next property of isocant is no isocant can touch either x-axis or y-axis. If an isocant touches the x-axis, it would mean that the commodity can be produced with OL unit of labor and without any unit of capital. Point K on the y-axis implies that the commodity can be produced with OK unit of capital and without any unit of labor. So this is wrong. No, the next property of isocant is an isocant slope downward from left to right. The logic behind this is the principle of diminishing marginal rate of technical substitution. In order to maintain a given output, a reduction in the use of one input must be offset by an increase in the use of another output as shown in the diagram. Now the next property of an isocant is isocant need not to be parallel. The shape of an isochant depends upon the marginal rate of technical substitution. Since the rate of substitution between two factors need not necessarily be the same in all the isochants schedule, they need not to be parallel as shown in the diagram. Now the each isochant is oval-shaped. An important feature of isochant that it is enable the firm to identify the efficient range of production as shown in the figure. Both the combination Q and P produce the same level of output, but the combination Q represent more of capital and labor than P. Combination Q must therefore be expensive and would not be chosen. Now, these are the another. This is some diagrams which represents negatively sloped segment of isocant which is economically feasible. Now I'm also shown some YouTube link